Hey, today we will learn 7 chess openings principles that will allow you play confidently even if your opponents choose openings that you are not familiar with. These principles allow my students to cross 1500 without memorizing all these complicated theoretical lines. So in today's episode, we will look at these principles. I will show you some common mistakes, and also we will understand what is the most important in the opening. So let's start with our main goal in the opening, which is transition to the middle game. Remember that our main goal will be advancing to the middle game as fast as possible, and we will do that by completing our development, activating all our pieces. And these 7 principles that we are going to talk about are strategies that will allow us to accomplish our main goal. So the first principle is fight for control of the center. Let's take a look at this position. So here white plays d4, and if your opponent decides to play b6, d6, e6, maybe g6 in this position, so like you can see all these moves are quite passive and defensive, then we take more control of the center. So we will play pawn to e4. Yes, same if your opponent, for example, plays pawn to b6, we will again play pawn to e4, creating more space for us. Why is it so important? Because when you control the center and you have this space, you can easily develop all your pieces, and you have also choice to which square you want to develop them, while your opponent will be cramped and he will have some problems with finding good squares for his pieces. The mistake that I can see is, for example, people learn the openings, maybe accelerated London system, and they play bishop f4 in this type of position because they know, okay, I play d4, next I develop bishop, knight, and they memorize moves. The problem here is that most of the time we will not play pawn to e4 next because our opponent will play d5, preventing this option, or for example knight f6, and then you cannot play pawn to e4. But if this option is available, then we definitely do that. Let's take a look at a little bit different moves here. So black plays knight f6, preventing our e4, and then white continues development with knight f3, and then black plays pawn to c5. And now the question is what to do. In this type of position, I know that people like to capture this pawn on c5, and then what will happen is that if black recaptures this pawn, let's say like that, then black has 2 central pawns, we have only one, and there is a chance that black will control the center more in this future. So what I would do in a situation like that is I would just defend my pawn on d4, maintaining control of the center. So the options are c3 or e3, and for me the choice is quite simple. Here I will play e3. The idea is that if he takes, we take it back. Yes, and we still have the center. And I would choose e3 over c3 because now I also created space for my bishop, so I will castle next. This is my priority in this position. So this is how it looks about controlling the center. The next principle is castling quickly. So let's take a look at this position. Here white plays bishop g5 and black is ready to castle. And that's something what we should do. So ideally want to castle here, and white castles as well. Castling quickly is super important. When I talk to my students about castling, quite often I can hear from them that they don't like to do that because it doesn't bring too much into the game. So they would prefer more to play something like knight c6 in this position, or maybe bishop g4 pinning the knight, because then they feel like something happens on the board. What I would advise you is treating castling as a special developing move, which is stronger than other alternatives. Many times I can see that people play, for example, bishop g4 in this type of position, and then there is some check in the future they blunder something and they lose games. So build a habit of castling as fast as you can, and you will see your chess games will be much simpler thanks to that. So we castle and white castles. I think this is how it should look. Even here, instead of playing bishop g5, that was the move for white. The last move, I would just castle here definitely. By the way, if you would like to analyze your own games together, I have some availability for individual coaching at the moment. And so if you would like to talk about your chess goals, training plan, and see how your progress could look like, I encourage you to check out my calendar and book an introduction call. We move on to the next principle, which is don't move the same piece twice. So in these types of position, quite often I can see that white plays, for example, knight to e5. This is a very strong square for our knight. Wait a second, it's black's turn here. So for example, here white plays knight e5. I don't like this idea because I understand that we improve position of our knight, but again, our goal will be completing development and moving to the middle game. And this idea doesn't help us with that. All these pieces are inactive and still wait. So when you move twice the same piece, you don't have a chance, you don't give a chance to your other pieces to start playing in the game. So instead of knight e5 in this position, we might play knight d2, for example. This develops the knight, or maybe bring the queen to e2, maybe pushing a4, making some space for the rook. These are developing moves, and that's something what we need. Don't move twice the same piece, because then you will advance to the middle game slower. Exception to that rule would be accomplishing something. So when it's guaranteed that we accomplish something, then we might play the same piece twice. So for example, you win a pawn in a position, or you trade the knight for the bishop, and your opponent cannot avoid it. This is very important. It has to be guaranteed that we accomplish something, not that we will accomplish something and our opponent will blunder, right, or not see something. Let's move on to the next principle, which is don't develop the queen too soon. So we have e4, d5, we take it, queen takes, and now the queen is in the middle. We can easily attack the queen with our minor pieces. So for example, knight c3, this queen escapes somewhere, and next in the future we will play d4, bishop d2, and again we will develop minor piece looking at the queen, winning extra tempos. And that's why we should not bring this queen too early into the game. So for example, we have e4, e5, and white plays bishop c4 and tries to mate the opponent quickly on f7. We have g6 to stop this knight f6. And what will happen next is black will have opportunity to play knight d4, centralizing the knight and at the same time attacking the queen. So the queen has to escape then. Or there will be something like d6 and bishop will go to g4. So your opponent will win extra tempos if you decide to move the queen too early into the game, and thanks to that he will advance to the middle game faster than you. We still need to remember about our main goal. What I can see quite frequently is we play e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and there is a variation where white tries to take the center, so he plays d4, takes, and then black captures on d4, bringing out the queen early into the game. But this will be a mistake for black. Where is the difference? The difference is that now black cannot use the minor pieces to attack our queen. So there is no knight c6 option. Bishop c5 is like super difficult. First of all, he needs to prepare this with b6, but then even if he tries to play bishop c5, we will win the pawn on g7, it will be unprotected. So now the queen is very powerful because it stays in the middle and controls a lot of space on the board. And then I see that the follow-up is pawn to c5, but this is not the same anymore because now you use a pawn to attack the queen, not the pieces. So you don't win any tempos, and this is incorrect play for black. The queen is strong in the middle. Next, we have finished whole development. So let's take a look at this position. Here, my student plays as white in this position. And what we can see is like clear lead in development. White has already 4 pieces and black has only 1 developed pieces. We are also castled. So this is a really big advantage for white. And what happened in this position is white realized that next move for black might be pawn to c5, attacking the bishop, and the bishop is simply trapped. The bishop doesn't have any safe squares. So my student decided to play rook g3 with the idea of making some space for the bishop, but also this is quite active. We attack the pawn on g7. The only problem with this solution is that black might play knight f5 now, forking both our pieces, also defending the pawn on g7, and this is not so great for white, not the best solution for white. And what we can see is that this rook is not developed yet, so we almost advanced to the middle game, but we need to activate all our pieces. And the move that white should play here is rook to e1. And now look what happens if we have all our pieces in the game. If black decides to play pawn to c5, trapping our bishop, we will take the pawn on g7, right, attacking him. So he takes back and now the knight is unprotected. And we can take it because our rook is active. So we give him check, the bishop is hanging, it's double attack, so king defends this, and then we check him, the only move is king g8, and we back rank made him, here takes this, boom, the game is over. So this is the power of completing the whole development and playing with all the pieces that we have on the board. Next principle, don't attack prematurely in the opening. Let's take a look at this position. White plays pawn to d4, d5. We have c4, e6. That's also the mistake that I see quite frequently. So white plays bishop f4 and then bishop e7. Black just develops kingside pieces. He wants to castle, and then white plays knight b5. And this is moving twice the same piece. So we need to answer the question, is that guaranteed that we accomplish something, that we win something? And the answer is no, because black might play, for example, knight a6 right now, and he will defend the pawn on c7, so we didn't win anything. And also black brings next piece into the game, which is very good for him. But I think much better solution than knight a6 here is playing is castling. So you play this knight c3 and knight b5 in order to attack c7, and black just ignores that. And what happens now? You have two options to capture this pawn, with the knight or with the bishop. Let's say you take with the knight, and now look, surprise. King in the middle, so we get check. Here, black trades this, and now this knight doesn't have a defender anymore. So black simply takes this. Black is up a piece, huge lead in development, clearly winning position for black. Another situation, you take it with the bishop, and we will have very similar scenario. Just check. King cannot escape anywhere, so I think the only reasonable solution would be moving knight back, and then black just takes this, and the bishop is hanging. Black wins material. So this is what happens, what can happen if you try to attack your opponent too early in the game. I don't recommend it. Remember, don't get distracted. Our main goal is completing development as fast as possible. And the last principle, every move should improve your position. So let's take a look here. White plays e4, we play e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, and the move that I can see from time to time is h6. This is what black tries to play. I think black is afraid of knight g5 and some attacks on f7, but the problem is that this pawn push doesn't improve our position. This is a defense, and this is a passive move, and you waste your time. That's something what I don't recommend. What to do instead of that? The moves that improve our positions are the moves where we develop our pieces. So for example, knight f6, we will move the bishop somewhere, or for example, like pawn moves, but where we make space for other pieces. So in this case, it might be d6, for example. But of course, I would prioritize castling here. So I would think what to do with these two pieces. And be careful with playing knight f6, because actually then after knight g5, it's a little bit difficult to defend this pawn on f7. But if you start with the bishop, you will move it to e7 or c5. And next you can just develop the knight and castle next. So this might be quite interesting option. And if we compare h6 to bishop e7, for example, in this position, h6 doesn't improve our position. That's why this is a big mistake. And bishop e7 is a good developing move, because now we control both diagonals. Knight g5 is impossible, no attacks, and we continue development. We are closer to castle and complete development next. Thanks for watching this video. Like I mentioned earlier, at the moment I have some availability for individual lessons. So if you would like to see constant improvement in your game and you want to play your games confidently, I encourage you to check out my calendar and book an introduction call with me. I'm looking forward to meeting you, and see you next time.